Hello and welcome to the Sweaty Dive Podcast. I am one half of your hosts, known as Buff Charmander, joined as always by my good pal KG.
You.
And today we're here to discuss Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Let's jump right into it. Can I hit you with my thoughts first, my good friend?
Yes, please.
This might be my favorite MCU movie ever. It might be my favorite non-Raimi Spider-Man Marvel movie. I loved it so much that in its opening weekend, I watched it more than once. It floored me. I could not believe this was coming out in a Marvel world post-Endgame. I didn't know that we were still capable of getting this type of stuff. I was floored by it. I will get into more details as we go along, but it blew me away. I'm so upset that I had to wait a week to talk to you about it because I needed someone to talk to, and none of our friends had seen it yet until yesterday, or this morning actually. And I'm just so glad we finally get to talk about it. What are your quick thoughts after seeing it like less than 48 hours ago?
Yeah, Friday, Dolby Digital Cinema. Get into those thoughts in a second. But it was amazing, man. It was really, really good. It was better than expected. Wholeheartedly went in with lower expectations after the first few misses and duds from the previous MCU films in this latest series. But it was great. It's like one of the greats. I would have to really assess my ranking of the MCU films pre and post Endgame, but it's definitely up there, particularly in terms of emotional attachment.
Yeah, for me, it's the best movie, in my opinion, post Endgame, for sure. That's just me. I think that there was more nostalgic tying into Spider-Man No Way Home, of course, that felt almost more like a big crowd-pleasing blockbuster movie. But this, to me, was a blockbuster done in the way that I really love it to be done. We had a conversation a while ago on a lost episode of the podcast about what we want from blockbuster movie making. And I said I would like awe and spectacle. And I think this movie delivers that while also not lacking in real emotional connection. And I know that there's a little bit of a cheat code going on here because we have not just the movie that we're getting in front of us, but we have prior attachment to these characters. About you could say 3.5 to 4 movies worth leading up to this movie because of Infinity War and Endgame as well. But, man, just bravo to James Gunn, bravo to everyone involved. And before we get into like the bigger aspects of this movie, I just want to give a warning. We do go full spoilers on this podcast. So if you haven't watched the movie yet, we both couldn't recommend it enough, I would imagine.
Oh, yes.
So go watch it. Pause the pod, go watch it, come back, and listen to the rest of it. Thank you very much. Let's talk about our theater experiences with this movie. Because I went and saw this 2 different ways. I saw it in AMC, the Dolby Theater for AMC, and then I saw it in AMC IMAX. I told you that I thought the Dolby experience was really good. I loved it. I thought that the visuals and the audio quality was excellent. The audio, for some reason, for me, was great in that theater. Really just immersive. And then I told you I had a hard time with IMAX. It sounded like the speakers were going to break with how much the audio was blasting through. And the visuals weren't significantly better than the Dolby Theater. So for me, I don't really see the purpose in going IMAX when the Dolby is the option there. What do you think of the Dolby?
Was your IMAX 3D? This is just a side question.
I don't think so.
Okay, then I guess they have different levels of IMAX, but because the guy in front of me got IMAX 3D, which I just feel like is way too much for honestly any movie. And 3D, just miss me with that. We're done. It happened. Yeah. Just come on, in and out.
Yeah, I agree.
But I thought Dolby was great. I do not like the price hikes at peak hours. Miss me with all of that. That's a pod for another day. But I thought the Dolby Cinema experience was gripping, enthralling. It was a great way to just experience, I would say, a blockbuster film. I don't think I need to see like a A24 art house film in a Dolby Cinema. The one thing I do not like is 27 minutes of trailers.
It was rough.
So, you know me, I'm a time freak. I get everywhere 10 minutes early. This time I was like, let's challenge ourselves. Let's get there on time. Let's not get too early. Definitely not late, but let's get there at 6:43 for the 6:45. The movie did not start till 7:10. Too many trailers. Too many.
I even tried to, for the second viewing, I tried to time it to where I got there like 10 minutes late. No, didn't matter.
Dude, and we love cinema, the whole experience, but I get like antsy after the third trailer, especially for a movie I'm looking forward to. So by the fifth one, I was like, now we're just kind of throwing things in. And some of them matched with the Dolby sound, some didn't, which was also odd. So in the future cinemas, because I know so much, pick 3, get the sound right, and let's just move on.
How good was the Dune trailer in Dolby, though?
Dude, and I honestly did not like the first Dune movie. I have to rewatch it, but I was like, boring. The Dune trailer and Mission Impossible. Still hate Tom Cruise passionately, but damn, do I want to see that Mission Impossible. Possibly the best title of the summer. Dead Reckoning Part 2. Or Part 1, sorry.
Really good. Really, really good. Also, I thought the Oppenheimer trailer in the Dolby theater.
When we see that, it must be Dolby. And I'm sure IMAX, because Nolan is such an expert in IMAX, I feel like his sound balancing will be better. But also, AMC may just have a default, like when you put the film in, we're going to just do this. And even if you master it, we still have our settings this way. So I think we both agree for big blockbusters, serious, heart-pounding films, we're probably just going to stick to the Dolby experience.
Yeah.
Highly recommend it, though.
The seats were good, too, right?
The seats were good. Everything was good. So now, you saw it twice the first time in IMAX. If you did not see it again in the Dolby Cinema, would you still have all the same feelings or be a little more hesitant with your experience and explanation?
I'm sorry. Say it again?
So you saw it in IMAX. You saw it in Dolby. You still say it's one of your favorites of all time. But if you never saw the film again in Dolby and you were just left with the IMAX viewing of the over-the-top speaker, the visual not being the best, would that have dampened your opinion of the film?
I think it would have dampened my opinion on the theater experience of watching it. I don't think it would have dampened my opinion on the content of the movie itself.
Okay.
That's how I would say it. And with that, let's get into the movie itself. I don't even know where to start with this.
Can we talk about James as a director?
Yeah.
Can we start there?
Yeah, let's start there. Why don't you give me your thoughts? Because I think that if you look at both of us and our personalities, if you knew us real IRL at least, I think James Gunn's style and sentiment as a director, if you're looking at it from the layman's viewpoint of him and his style, I think he would match your personality and your tastes really well. And if you look at his style in this movie of how to approach emotion and characterization and connecting character to audience members, you would go, oh, that's sappy Buff Charmander right there. That's his whole vibe. This is his shtick. So how have you enjoyed his growth as a director in this franchise, and how have you enjoyed his movies in total?
So I had to take some notes on this because I was afraid I would forget it. Someone else said this, but I can't remember who said it, so I'm not taking sole credit on this, but somebody made a comment that the reason this movie is so great is because Marvel allowed them to just make they allowed James to make his own film and then put some Marvel characters in there. I feel as though the last few Marvel films, particularly with Ant-Man, Marvel was like, here's your character, you have X amount of rules to follow, try to do what you want. Now, this is like a big brain theory. Maybe Feige and Gunn had a relationship where Feige's like, I trust you to just make magic. I'm going to give you more leash. Again, I don't know a thing. I hope that's not true.
So here's the thing. A couple of things I can tell you that I've heard reported.
Please do.
Number one, John Campea has said recently, over the past couple months, that James Gunn was one of Feige's right hand men. Was in with a lot of meetings with Feige, kind of heard a lot of decision making, and we've heard in the past that, and it's been reported by the big trades, that Feige really enjoyed working with Sam Raimi before, in Multiverse of Madness, because he likes getting a director who he knows he can kind of just let him do what he does and not have to
Like
overwatch
Overwatch.
the production.
Yeah.
I would not be surprised if that's what happened with James Gunn. And then you hear some of James Gunn's comments on the press tour here. It sounds like James Gunn had a lot of influence in the MCU that we didn't really know about. I mean,
Oh yeah, about the Power Stone. I didn't know he just made all that up.
yeah, he is the sole creator of the lore of the Infinity Stones in the MCU. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That is wild. So I do think that he had a little bit more leeway than a lot of directors in the MCU, specifically the Russos, who we'll get into later. Yeah, so that's what I think is happening.
Yeah.
But continue, please.
So I think my favorite part about the film is that, like, the end, I didn't care about the final fight at all. And honestly, the villain as a whole, the actor did a great job. We just said his name before. Chukwudi Iwuji was very charismatic, like bombastic, cartoonish off the screen. He was good in his role. I thought he did a very good job. But what made me care about the movie was the focus on the characters. And ironically, this is something that Fast and Furious is always like family, family, family. I think James Gunn blows it out of the water. I cried 4 times in this movie. 4, which is insane. And it could be because I'm getting older, maybe my blackened heart is turning a little more red. But he did such a great job of just telling the story about the characters. It's all like a lost, like how do I describe this? Like a story about broken toys all coming together, literally and figuratively, as we will get more into detail about it. But it was so captivating just to see for years why Rocket would not speak about what happened. They finally see a snippet of what happened. We see more as viewers, but even the Guardians themselves are turning away in disgust. Nebula has seen some of the worst things in all of the MCU, and she can't even handle seeing what Rocket was put through. But I think James Gunn just does a masterful job of telling his own story. And I can't give enough credit to the casting director, Sarah Finn, I believe her name is. She did, in all the Marvel movies, I think they're all pretty well like cast. I really don't see where you can make a better character in certain situations. And after hearing what you said, maybe James had a play in this, but getting those people together, getting Batista, getting Chris Pratt, getting Bradley Cooper on to do the voice of Rocket, and then their new additions like Mantis, Gamora, everyone plays off each other so well, and they are a believable group. You want them to succeed. It's not forced. Their anger is good towards each other. Their love is good towards each other. It's one of the few movies where it's like, I don't care about the bombastic fighting. At the end, like the last cool fight with, what's the Beastie Boys song they were playing?
Was it No Sleep Till Brooklyn?
Yeah, it was I kept thinking of Sabotage. It's No Sleep Till Brooklyn. Like, that was a cool fight. Don't get me wrong. It was really cool. But I didn't care, and I didn't need it. It was done well, and I appreciated it. But if you took that away, I'm still watching it. I couldn't tell you. I've never cared less about a villain in a movie in my life. Literally have never cared less. I'm not kidding. I think he did a good job, but I think he was purposely put, and that character was used to forward Rocket's story. You know what I mean? It was a great, and the final fight, who cares? The people just turn on him, whatever. But they use the villain in such a smart way, I think, to further all characters' story, because that's what I wanted to see. It's what we wanted to see, and we spent years, and we finally get payoff for these things.
I think I love the villain, and I'll tell you why. Have you heard my take on General Zod from Man of Steel? I think we've talked about him before. I mean, we've talked about Man of Steel on the pod before. I love that he's just an evil guy who's terrifying to watch. He is barking at portions of that movie, and I think we get the same thing here from Chukwudi Iwuji. And real quick, we are trying our best to not butcher his name. We're just letting that be known. We're trying our best. If we're mispronouncing it, I apologize. We're doing what we can. We heard it on a broadcast before we came on to the pod to make sure we weren't being idiots, basically. I think he does a great job here. I think I love the line that Star-Lord gives about, I don't need another explanation, and I'm paraphrasing here, about why another whack job is trying to conquer the universe and trying to justify it.
Yeah.
I don't always need that. I don't need every villain to be sympathetic. I don't need the Joker to be sympathetic, really. I'm cool with it when we get it, and especially if it's done well, like in the Joker film. But I'm okay with us just getting, no, this is a bad guy you just want to see get killed. And I'm not gonna lie, by the end of the movie, I was like, no, I want him to die. Whoa. Rocket. And I got why he didn't. And of course, he seemingly does die. I would assume so.
I think it's one of those you're gonna die by your own hand things. Like, I'm not gonna kill you. I'll kill thousands of other things, but I'm not gonna kill you.
I killed all the experiments in that hallway, but whatever.
Yeah, like, do you feel bad for them because they were kind of near? Like, we can talk about that.
Yeah. But yeah, I thought that it was a great villain. I thought it served the story's purpose really well. And I think that if you're going to present this story about essentially someone who, if you take like the worst fears about a surgeon and turn them into a supervillain, it's kind of what this is. And I think that it works really well given the overall story told and a lot of the striking visuals on screen. This is the hardest. I heard Joanna Robinson call this a hard PG-13. This is the hardest PG-13 I've seen in a long time.
Yeah. But I want to continue your point there real quick about the villain. I think he works so well. And I don't know if you agree with me on this entirely. Not only just Rocket's story, but everyone's trying to make something perfect that doesn't work. And usually by the end, especially the dance sequence, I'm like, if it's me, you know me, I'm like corny. But I fucking started bawling. It was, I don't know why it got me, but it all just clicked. It's one of those, like, the puzzle pieces fit. It all works together. Everyone was affected by the villain in some way, shape, or form, physically, mentally, and emotionally, but I thought it was just a very genius way to write him, because he could have been like a over-the-top cartoonish layman, you know, but I think they just did a really good job. Like, I really need to express that. It was so smart to get everybody to try and fit this mold or make this happen, or you're supposed to be A, but you really want to be Z or whatever. And by the end, they all kind of learn what they're supposed to, but it's in a way where it's like deserved. And you're happy for everyone. Like, it's not like, oh, I've seen this 100 times. Like, when they called Drax a dad, I was like, oh my God. Oh my God. Get me out of here. Get me out of here.
I'm not kidding. I almost was sobbing the entire third act.
It was wild, man.
I was a mess by the end of the movie. I'm glad I saw it alone.
It does help that, yeah, we saw this alone.
I'm serious. I might not ever watch this movie with anyone else ever.
It's heavy. I think it's even good to the point where if I just showed this to my girlfriend who has never watched the other ones, she's still going to be affected because you see the roots of Drax's fatherhood. You don't need to know his backstory that Thanos killed his family, whatever. You can see that he wanted to be something, lost what he had. He still has it there, and then by the end when it's revealed, like, you were born to be a dad, or you were born to be a father, he gets emotional about it. You start to feel that. You're like, wow, this... I can see, whether they told me or not, that this guy had something, he lost it. And this whole journey helped him realize what he's supposed to be doing. That's hard. That's really hard, too. It's really hard to pull off.
Mm-hmm. I mean, oh my gosh, I love this movie so much, dude. I can't describe how much I love it. It's in my top 10 favorite superhero movies ever. It's in my top 5, easily. Oh my gosh, I'm so floored by it. And I'm so glad you like it. I was a little worried. So I wanted to touch slightly on... do you have many criticisms of this movie?
Yeah, one thing I absolutely fucking hated was when Vin Diesel said, "I love you guys." I thought that was bullshit.
Really?
It was timed poorly. It sounded odd. I think he fought to get it in. I didn't like it. I fucking hated it.
That's a piping hot take, my friend.
I hated it.
This is good. This is great for viewership.
Did you like it? Yeah, it sucked. No, that was dog shit.
I loved it.
That was a flat, stinky mud pie. That was dog shit.
See, but this is why this is what I was talking about earlier with, like, the sappy guy over here, and then you, who's like kind of the cool guy. So it's like,
the dance sequence was better. Jesus. Oh, I love you guys. No, dude, the ADR made no fucking sense. It didn't line up. It didn't match all of his other I Am Groots. Just do what you do. Like when he said, "We are Groot," masterful, chef's kiss. You change one word, he's still saying his thing. Don't drop an "I love you" like it's Fast and Family. Nah. Miss me with that.
I've heard that James Gunn apparently said that is us finally understanding Groot after spending so much time with him. Okay, I get it. I totally get your sentiment. I just think that's so funny. I'm glad we finally agree on something. It's been years of us doing this pod, and we finally harshly disagree on something. Good
Oh,
grief.
dude, that sucked.
Okay, so that's your one big criticism of the movie.
I would say that. I thought Peter's acting in the beginning at one point was odd. Like, his drunkenness was good, but when he put the shock pad on Rocket, and he was like, I just put it on him, I don't know. I thought he would have been more emotional. Like, more upset that he did that. Maybe he was his drunken state.
I think he was still drunk.
There was one other thing in the third act, but I can't remember. But honestly, it's better that I can't remember it. That means there's so many positive things. There was way more good than bad. I was not bored. I was heavily entertained. And from the first cutscene, it's now cartoon animals ruin me as a human being. I can't watch anything with animated animals anymore. Even if they're happy running around, your boy's going to get too emotionally invested. Just from that first scene on, I was like, well, time to close my eyes every time they're on screen. Can't do this.
Mm-hmm. No, for sure. What I wanted to touch on, though, have you checked out any of our favorite reviewers and critics with their opinions on this movie?
I have not heard or seen anything until after we're done recording.
So I still haven't checked out the Midnight Boys. Shout out Van and the crew. Stuckman and Jeremy Johns both seemed a little bit more mixed on this movie than I thought they would be. In fact,
any particular reason?
Well, they talked about like the tonal issues and the pacing stuff. I don't think there were tonal issues with this movie. I thought there was tonal issues with Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
I would say Guardians. I think Guardians of the Galaxy 2 was trying to serve a bigger purpose, while Guardians of the Galaxy 3 was telling a story about a group.
Yeah,
I thought it was way more concise.
I'm gonna let you, and I don't want to speak.
And I would go as far to say the Warlock character, like, you could have got rid of him. He really wasn't utilized. Yes, please do.
Yeah, we'll hit that.
But that to me is the problem that I was like, it wasn't something that completely distracted. Like, I love you guys.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. It only has and I say only, it has an 82% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is a 7.2 out of 10 average. I don't get it. I don't get being that mixed on this movie. I thought it was such an incredible experience, and I have one question for you that I think turned some people off.
Yeah.
Is the animal body horror too much in this movie? For me, I thought it would be, but I was so, I don't know, just kind of emotionally enthralled by the whole experience that I kind of just compartmentalized it and took it for what it was. Like by the second act, I was in love with Teets and Floor and Lila.
Yeah.
That all of it just kind of felt normal to me almost. What about you? What did you think about that?
I thought they were awesome. That's James Gunn's style. We have gotten a watered down version of him in the MCU because he's not allowed to be what he wants to be. But if you ever saw the Belko Experiment, he, I think, produced and helped to write. I don't necessarily believe he directed. Excuse me. If you've seen, what was the one with Evil Superman?
Oh, Brightburn?
Yeah, Brightburn, right? If you've seen his other movies, you can see how grotesque and intense he gets. I still think that this is a watered down version because it's Marvel, but I thought it was done and I thought the CGI was really good. Like, you could see where the budget and the time was clearly not spent on one film, Ant-Man, and spent on another. Even though Ant-Man wasn't ugly per se, but you could just tell CGI was.
Thor was ugly.
Thor was dog shit, yes. Thor was I love you guys dog shit. That's my new phrase now. But I thought the body horror, quote unquote, was good. And I thought it all served a purpose too. When you try to make something perfect, this is what happens, as an extreme literal version. But when you try to perfect an imperfection, you make things even more imperfect. And Rocket was like the most tame version. And I think their look is supposed to scare you, just like Rocket is scared. And as you know these people, and Rocket grows with his three friends, you become more acquainted. I guarantee, I don't know if they make toys of these creatures, but if they do, they'd be sold by the truckloads. Because even like an 8-year-old, if you show them that the first time, they're going to be scared. But by the third, fourth, fifth, when they start talking and like playing tag with each other and the kid's watching it, you're watching it, it doesn't matter how ugly something is, you're going to start to feel emotionally connected to it, and you're going to love it for what it is and not how it like looks,
I will say I would not take a child to go see this movie. You'd have to be like 13 years old for me to take you.
Yeah, and also just like your etiquette's probably dog shit, so.
Yeah.
We're going to keep you at 13.
By the way, just a real quick disclaimer. My second time viewing this movie. Do you remember the scene when Peter Quill is driving and he's bad at it?
Oh, yeah.
I had a lady in my row say out loud something to the effect of like, bad driver. And I couldn't believe that she was an adult. I couldn't believe it. She's older than me. Way older.
You now just reminded me of my other gripe with the film. His use of the F word was poorly misplaced. I thought that was horrible. I thought that was horrible.
I thought you would have loved it.
Nope, I thought it was stupid. I thought it was forced. Where they should have done it, because clearly I'm a genius, they should have just gave it to Rocket when he said, I'm Rocket fucking Raccoon. There were so many other times where you could have said something, F word something. I felt like it was forced there. Peter could have had a speech or something. If you want Chris Pratt to say it, go ahead. But there's other times where he's emotional, where he's saying something like, this is my friends, whatever. I just feel like it was forced in that moment. I thought it was really weird to be in the car part.
So you didn't want it to be a joking moment. You wanted it to be a serious moment.
It could still be a joke. I guess I prefer a more serious moment, because if you're going to say the F word after years of not saying it, I want someone to deliver it in a manner that it's like needed. You know, like as a society, we all just, me especially, you just kind of like curse to curse because you're not even thinking. But I feel like if you're going to say that word, especially in Marvel where like they say no to all of that, I really wish it was like a heavy thing. But I guess like you can't have 8-year-olds running around saying I'm Rocket fucking Raccoon, because you know they're gonna quote it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, cool that you did it, but I do wish it was just like a little more oomph behind it. I laughed. I definitely laughed, and I was like, whoa, because I was waiting for it to come up. I saw that in the trades, like he's gonna say the F word. I just didn't really like it there, personally.
So you liked Batman's use of it more in the Snyder Cut than you did here.
Oh, well, I'm just a 12-year-old little boy forever when it comes to Batman. So he could say, like, wash the fucking dishes, and I'll be like, oh, God, he said it. He said the word. But, yeah, that was awesome when she did tell Joker, I'm going to fucking kill you.
Yeah. Okay.
That was crazy.
That's fair. I mean, so, yeah. So then we agree on the animal body horror stuff. I just, I was eventually just kind of like, okay, we're cool. And I like animals, just for the record. I'm not saying that it's a good thing that this happened to them. It's more so I just kind of accepted it for what it was in the.
I think it plays to the story very well.
Yes. Let's get into another criticism here, one that you mentioned earlier. And this is kind of a bigger question as well. And we may have touched on this in a previous podcast. I just can't remember. We've done quite a few of them by now. Adam Warlock is apparently not how he is in the comic books in this movie. I don't know anything about that character, just being upfront. So, for me, his character did not bother me at all. I had known that he was an important Marvel character. Apparently, he's like one of the... I saw this on a TikTok by the...
he comes from the Infinity Stone. Do you know that?
Yeah, he's the one who has
he's
the Soul
a
Stone.
Major player in the Infinity Stone saga.
I think he was the one... The Soul Stone, right? It is in his head.
I believe it's the soul or the I believe it's the soul, but he's like the guy that shuts Thanos down in the books.
Yeah, he's one of like
he's everything.
I think he's one of the 9 people who have ever canonically held the Infinity Gauntlet in all of media. So I get it. It didn't bother me because I love the movie so much. But they did give that throwaway line of like basically explaining that he's young still. That the High Evolutionary opened his egg too early.
Yeah, so he's like supposed to look like his age, but he probably mentally is like 10.
Yeah,
like
yeah, that's
he's
the
learning
thing. Like
everything.
Exactly. Yeah, he's like a child basically. And I don't mind him being funny. He's a robot. The gold people were kind of a joke in the last movie, anyways, and they're the same gold people, no?
They are. I did like how they looped them in. That basically the High Evolutionary made them. I did like that, how it all connects. Because, again, change comics. I agree with you. If you're going to change it and the change works, like, I'm fine with that. So I think making the High Evolutionary make Warlock something to be perfect, right? But still imperfect because he's mentally not there. And those gold people, like, I'm happy that it all just kind of came full circle.
Yeah. Again, his character didn't bother me at all. I liked how powerful he was and that he wasn't too overpowered.
Not yet.
Yeah, true. Very true.
His entrance was intense, though.
Oh,
when he came through the wall and hit Rocket, I actually jumped. I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
Because the intro's a little slow. Like it's getting you. It's trying to pick you up from where everybody
An
left off.
acoustics creed or creep an acoustic creep.
Yeah,
I was
definitely
like,
not
whoa.
Creed.
Yeah, not creed. Acoustic creep. I was like, whoa, didn't expect that. Cool. It this is a small side. My problem with the Snyder version of Superman was that he was too powerful. I don't like when Superman's that powerful. It just kind of makes him a little bit less interesting for me. I think that this power level would be a good power level for the DCU Superman. Just wanted to throw that out there. So I hope that he kind of handles in the same way. Would you agree with that at all? That like that's like a good baseline?
I think it's a good baseline, but it's going to be hard to toe as they get like older and movies progress. Like I think they're going to have to do like a Justice League Unlimited where Superman's like, I've held back my whole life. Like he's going to have to say at some point, like now I can go crazy, but usually I'm at like 70.
Yeah. So, and getting back to Adam Warlock, did his character bother you at all? Some people who aren't even big comic readers that I'm aware of said that he felt a little bit wasted in this movie.
I don't know a lot about him in the comics. I know that he is part of the saga. I don't know him as like a character in depth, but I thought he was fine. He was a little odd at points. I didn't really care for the scene at the end where he goes to save Peter, who is in space way too long. I kind of wish he did that quicker. It goes like, you're definitely dead, dude. Like if your face blew up, your heart definitely exploded.
I have a slight explanation for that.
Have you been to space with
No,
that mask on?
no, and I'm not that smart. I think it's possible we were seeing that in slow motion, but not in actual speed. I think we might have been seeing that
like a dramatized viewing
through how Adam Warlock views speed, maybe.
Oh, okay.
That's what I think may have happened there. Otherwise, yeah, he should have.
I'm gonna watch that again his way, and yeah, okay, that makes more sense. But I don't think he hurt the film. I think he was used like just enough. I think if he was used more, he could have hurt the film. I also think maybe Warlock was a character where Feige's like, find a way. You can do 85% what you want, because I feel as though you cast this kid, this man, as Warlock. He's in the end, as part of the New Guardians. He's definitely going to play some sort of role, particularly in Secret Wars. Like, I think he's going to be there, so there's give and take with everything. You know, it can't all be perfect.
For sure. Do you think it's fair for people to knock the film because they expected more from that character because of their prior readings of comic books?
I would say yes, because it would be hypocritical of me that when I didn't like something that was done in a comic that was done different in a movie, if I had a gripe with that, that would be very hypocritical for me to say you're wrong.
I 100% agree.
Granted, you're going into a Guardians 3 movie, and he is not like the villain. He's also not... He was in some of the trailers, but not like a lot, so I think as if you kind of have to use your brain. Like, he's going to be in there. I hope he's in for a decent amount, but I should also expect him not to be the focal point. I think it would be bad if he was in the movie the whole time, honestly. You would take away from all of these characters' 10-year mental anguish and journey. You know?
Yeah.
He needs the time to do that himself.
I will say, I thought he was going to be the villain of the movie. I didn't know it was the High Evolutionary, because I just kind of stayed away from a lot of trailers. So
you did?
Yeah.
I definitely knew the High Evolutionary was the villain, but I tried not to do too much research after like the first teaser and then like the first big main trailer.
Also, I never watched the Guardians Christmas special until after watching the movie for the first time.
Oh, really?
So when
you must have been shocked then when Mantis was like, "You're my brother."
Exactly. I was like, "What? When did that get established?" Okay.
Yeah. The special's fun. I definitely think it's more your wheelhouse than mine.
Oh yeah.
For what it was, I was like, "This is good." I also like that James directed it.
Yeah. For sure.
Always with his character. Good for him. Characters, I should say. But yeah, I feel like that's a huge piece of information that's left in there. That's also done proudly, so everybody watches it. But yeah, if you didn't see that, you're like, what the heck?
Yeah, for sure. And I just thought it was a fun little thing, you know, just kind of getting to see more of these characters before we never see them again, you know. Can we talk about... just to wrap up the conversation on Adam Warlock. You and I both believe that changing who a character is from the source material at the character's core is uncool. I am torn, admittedly, on changing a lesser known character in pop culture. I think that because Adam Warlock is such a big character in Marvel, it maybe was a bit rough to change him, and maybe hopefully he becomes a really big deal in the future of the MCU. But I do think I think it's objectively okay for people to be upset with that. That's just me. And I think you agree with that point. Would you?
Yeah. I would just hope that as the movies go on, Will Poulter and the rest of Marvel continue to develop and evolutionize the character. And I think people can keep their gripe if the character does not continue to gradually progress.
Yeah,
if
and
he's 10 mentally here, by the next time we see him, he should be like 20 mentally, or like, I've been through some stuff. I'm still silly, but I am learning. I'm taking on more roles. Like, in any movie, you have to have growth.
Yeah, and I've heard that he's a pretty evil guy. Will Poulter is only 30 years old, so we've got plenty of time for him to develop in this role and to add to it, and for us to see more of this character and who it actually is in the comic books.
Yeah.
So just wanted to throw that out there. Let's talk about the fact that nobody dies.
I loved it.
Me too. Oh,
I thought
so
it was
glad.
genius. No,
Yes,
I thought
I'm
it was
so
done
glad.
because the problem with these movies is that Iron Man, I guess Captain America's still alive technically. No one's ever like said he's dead, but he's like
60-40 alive.
60-40, nice. But Iron Man's the only one that's actually like dead, and it's honestly just a matter of time before it's either a full reboot or somebody takes the mantle, whatever. But when you kill a character, like, I'm of the mindset, you kill a character, they gotta be dead. Don't bring them back. This is not Dragon Ball Z. We don't have the Dragon Balls. Don't bring that physical person back. I think that's a bad move. It takes away from the weight of a film. That's why I thought the end of Endgame was so powerful, because I'm like, wow, they actually did it. I thought this film was smart. I had a feeling Rocket would only be killed if Bradley Cooper's like, I'm done with the voice, wholeheartedly. And I was thinking about AI, which I hope never actually comes to fruition, where they could just take his lines and make him sound like that. I would hate that. And that would just be like morally incorrect. Ugh, just think about it. Like, that's gross. But I thought it was awesome. You make him like the pseudo leader. James is gone, so push the characters off for a while. They can do whatever they want. But everyone got like it was like a nice final happy, like a true happy ending. They have all evolved. Lessons have been learned. But no one needed to like die in the process. Still, that rocket scene where Chris Pratt loses his mind, I was like, oh my God. Like, I'm getting emotional here. And then when he's talking to his friends and he's like, can I go hang out with you guys now? I was like, oh.
Oh my God. I was a mess.
Dude. But I thought it was super smart to not kill anybody, because when you kill someone, it's a permanent action that takes, I think, years of planning in a film. If you're going to get rid of this character, their entity, their spirit, Iron Man lived on for like another 4 movies. You know, his identity, especially in the next Spider-Man, like, he was a physical presence that was missed. He was an emotional presence that was missed. Everyone talked about that character in the movie and outside of the movie not being there. And it became a little bit of a distraction sometimes to the movie you're watching. So I just thought it was done really well to not kill anybody and leave room for change. You know?
I couldn't have said it better myself. The one thing that pissed me off is that stupid thing that they've been doing for years now, where at the end of the movie it says blank will return. You don't need to tell us that Star-Lord's going to return. Just leave it. Why are you doing that? I hate that so much.
Really?
I hate it. It's like, I'm not I understand that children go to these movies, but children can handle the fact that the movie's over. You don't have to tell them, hey, don't worry, kid. Your guy's gonna come back. Don't worry.
Or one of the biggest media companies in the universe.
I know. It's like, dude, shut up. I'm letting him hang out with his grandfather for a bit. I don't need to see him for a while. For years. I could go without seeing Star-Lord for the next 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. Doesn't matter. Just...
He's not dead.
Yeah, he's not dead. We know he can come back.
And they're not going to kill him off screen.
Yeah, I don't think they will either. That's just me. I love that. You know what I really love about this movie? To me, it kind of felt like a breakup movie, but like a happy breakup. Everyone splits and goes their separate ways in life, and it's kind of like, I need to remove myself, and not maybe just like a romantic breakup, but even, I mean, friendship breakups are hard. Family breakups are hard. That stuff happens, and it might not be due to It might not be a breakup in terms of I can't do this anymore. It's more so, hey, I personally need to go do this thing to fulfill my life. I only get one shot at this thing, and if I don't capitalize on this now, I'm going to regret it forever. And I just kind of love that that's a really big portion of the ending of this film. I'm so glad that I never even thought about Peter's family still being on Earth. I've never thought about that.
Yeah.
Until this movie mentioned it. I never thought about the emotional implications of Mantis being a person who lived as basically like a slave for her entire life.
Pretty much.
And just doing what her father wanted.
And then even with the Guardians, it was like, what we need you to do. I'm sure they all had a healthy relationship there, but she never got to like think for herself, do things for herself.
Yeah, and then everyone kind of is achieving something that they in their souls needed. They may not have said it out loud, but deep down they needed it. Drax needed the Guardians because he needed a family again, but he also needed to be a dad again.
Yeah.
He lost his child. That's the worst thing that can happen to you in your life. He needed that. Gamora needed to... not Gamora. Nebula has maybe the best character arc in all of the MCU. Like, there's a case to be made for it. She is such a good character by the end of this movie. From the beginning of Guardians 1 to now, she feels like the same person, but like she's just changed. And it's just awesome. You could maybe say the only one you don't get much evolution and change from is Groot, but that's because he's a talking tree. So, not much you can really get there.
I love you guys. Freaking bullshit. I thought Gamora was done better than expected. But I think...
Can we touch on that in a bit? But go on.
Oh, do you want to get into it now, or you got...
Oh, well, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say, in the beginning, I was like a little with her character, but I think... If you haven't experienced it yet, I think many people will experience being with someone or having someone in your life and they're gone, and then you try to fill a hole, fill a void with other people, objects, whatever. And this is a great, like, Back to the Future kind of thing where you have the person now in front of you. And you, again, and it's like, I never thought this would be possible. So you do everything in your power to force them to be with you, to love you, just like you did before. It's never going to happen. And in the beginning of it, when Star-Lord and her were doing this, like, this is a little annoying. Like, I don't know how I feel about this. But by the end, I emotionally felt for Star-Lord and what he was trying to do. I love that she lost her mind and was like, your old Gamora's dead, whatever, leave me alone, like, this is annoying. She throws him into the thing. I was like, whoa. And then when he finally stops thinking about her as a previous version and accepting her for who she is as this version and doing what is right for everyone, that's where they start to rekindle something. Now, if they never get together again, I'll be fine with that, wholeheartedly. She's a whole different character. But I thought the journey was done well. And Zoe Saldana did a good job of expressing how you guys all want me to be this thing. Don't forget that I was taken out of my reality too. Like, I'm now in this new situation where you're telling me I'm supposed to love you? Like, who are you? Right now, I don't even like you.
I still don't totally understand what happened.
So basically, when they opened the timelines, Gamora ended up coming over through the pre-Guardians 1 timeline, so she was like just ready to kind of leave. She's like peak Thanos' favorite daughter, Gamora.
Gotcha.
She knows deep down this is not the right thing to do, but all she knows is battle hungry, gonna kill everybody, whatever. So basically, Peter wants her to have 4 movies of evolution in 20 minutes, and that's never going to happen. And in the beginning, while I was watching, I was like, this is too forced. But then thinking about it, I was like, this is what any logical person would do when they have the person they love in front of them again, which you think you would never have. Whether that be a boyfriend, girlfriend, a relative, you instantly want them to remember every single positive memory you've ever had for over 10 years. And it's like, that's never going to happen, dude. So either organically try to talk to me and let me do my thing, or piss off. So I think at the end, when she goes back to the Ravengers, it's basically her family now. And she likes the Guardians, but I think it's going to take some time. And I'm super happy that it wasn't just forced in, like, by the end, I will kiss Peter. I like that she smiled at the end, and when they all gave a group hug, she didn't get involved. I think she's starting to realize, I do like them. I think their family thing is good, but I need to figure out myself and how I fit into any group. And then Stallone embraces her, and I thought that was like a good way. Because like the Ravagers come off like hardos or whatever, but they're just like a rougher version of the Guardians. So that's why they had their little hoorah at the end, and I thought that was nice too.
Yeah, I really love that scene when someone gives her like a noogie. I thought
Yeah.
that was such a really good way to characterize them showing affection for one another because there's different ways to show affection. How good was that line? I bet we were fun.
Yeah.
And then Peter says, like you wouldn't believe. Oh my
It's
gosh.
it's done well, man. It's done like really. It's the small. They're just letting James be James.
Okay, so I want to touch on James being James in a little bit to continue the director conversation. But I felt really bad for him that they did what they did with Gamora in Infinity War and Endgame because who knows if that was his original plan for her.
Well, did you hear about his whole opinion with uh, Star Lord and
Can you explain?
rough translation? Don't have it up in front of me, but basically, in so many words, he was trying to say I didn't like the way they wrote Peter Quill in Avengers Endgame and Avengers Infinity War. That he felt like he was slightly too dumbed down, too emotional. The way he acted, like basically he's the reason Thanos was able to do whatever. He didn't like that take on the character and how that was done. And full devil's advocate, James can't be in every movie because then that's just director nepotism. You're leading to a whole branch of problems. So, of course, you're going to have Kevin Feige as the overseer. But again, devil's advocate, it's really hard to. Like, imagine someone took your art and then wanted to interpret it, you'd go nuts.
That's it, my exact thought. Yeah, so I can't blame him.
I can't blame him for being upset, but I also can't blame the Russos for doing what they were going to do because they were given the keys to part of the whole thing. You know, it's. I like that he came out and said that, but I also am not going to really fault the Russos too much because they had a plan. The head of honcho signed off on it, and you can't have like 20 directors try to direct a film. It's never going to get made.
Yeah.
This is what happens as you get into bigger brain. So we'll talk about this later, but I'm very curious how DC, that'll probably be our ending convo there.
Yes,
What's
it will.
going to be going on?
Yes, it will. You know me very well, my friend. So yeah, I would agree. I just I can't. I want to give him props for even being able to work through that and find a solution for one of his characters being completely reset.
Yeah.
Did you like the press tour that they gave for this movie and how everyone was telling you, "Hey, I'm kind of done with this." I mean, we had Dave Bautista said he's just done.
I thought he was going to die. That's why, because he kept saying he was done. But then it also helps that I guess everybody says they were done.
Well, that's the thing. He said it. Chris Pratt said it, and Zoe Saldana basically said, "Someone else could play this character. I'm kind of done with it." Or the Guardians could continue, but the Gamora story, in my opinion, is done.
Yeah.
Did you like that they kind of all said that leading into the movie? For me, I'll tell you, it did kind of create this sense of tension throughout the whole movie where I thought at any moment they could all die. At the beginning, I thought that Drax was going to get beaten to death by Adam Warlock.
I thought he was going to die in the scene with the guys
in the
with
organ
skins.
Room. Yes. Is that
And
what
if
you're
he
talking
died
about?
there, I was going to be like, dude, that's like a stupid way for him to die.
Same, but it felt like he was about to. Hold on, let me get up her name so I pronounce it correctly. I'm gonna try this my best. Clementif, the Mantis, basically. She carries so much emotional weight in this movie in terms of making things feel like they're dangerous or important. Her screaming Drax's name when he gets shot in the back in that scene, I thought he was gonna have a hole in his chest when they put the camera on him because of that scream. So I like the press tour and in one adding weight to this movie, like, hey, this is the last time you're going to see these people probably for some of them. How'd you feel about that?
I try not to pay too much attention to the press tour, honestly, especially when these movies come out. I try to dodge all YouTube podcasts and press tours, but I think it's a smart way to address the who's going to die factor. If you all say you're done with the character, then it leaves it open to everybody, you know? So maybe behind closed doors, they were like, look, whether you feel this way or not, we're going to just say we're done for now. So that way the audience can't necessarily guess, like if Chris Pratt's like, can't wait for the fourth one. And it's like, all right, well, okay, let's check him off for the next one. But I would agree. I wasn't like on the edge of my seat tense of who's going to die, but my big two were Drax and Rocket, who they were going to kill off. But again, I am elated that no one actually died.
Yeah, same here. And I mean, we haven't talked really about Rocket much.
It's gonna be hard to talk about.
I mean, he what just so the audience knows, any listeners out there, viewers, whatever. I am a very firm believer in hiring professional voice actors for voiceover roles. I think that is an art form that is constantly disrespected. From my understanding, there's a lot of like attempted non-union labor with voice actors, which I think is BS. And I don't love that they get past. Not even don't love. I strongly dislike that they don't get big movie roles. I don't like that they try and sell. No disrespect to like anyone in the Mario movie, but I don't like that they use these big name actors to try and sell this movie when, in all actuality, kids are gonna go watch that stuff anyways. Who cares who the voices are? It doesn't like it. Mario was gonna make a bunch of money. Maybe you needed Jack Black. I'll give you that one. Maybe you needed him because my gosh, he killed it. And that song is going stupid right now. I am a big proponent of voice actors, professional voice actors. I think it's a really cool field. Something I wanted to do at one point in my life, but it's really hard to do. I have to give massive credit to Bradley Cooper in this movie because he crushes his role as Rocket Raccoon. I mean, my gosh, when he says, "Can I come to Lila in heaven?" I felt like my soul shattered. I don't think it's him throughout the entire movie. I think young Rocket.
There's another voice actor who does the younger version.
Yes, but all the times that it is him, phenomenal job, and phenomenal job to the other person who voiced him. Rocket Raccoon is now one of my favorite superheroes of all time. Who would have thunk it? Who would have thunk it? I even found myself going back I want to rewatch Guardians 2 because I don't love that movie, but this movie made me want to do that. I found myself rewatching old clips of him and going, man, he's kind of always been great. When he's drunk yelling at Peter Quill in Guardians 1, I went back and checked that scene out. It's still awesome. It's so good. I think it's Guardians 1 at least. How did you feel coming out of this movie with Rocket Raccoon? And maybe even, how did you feel going into this movie knowing that he was going to be the main character? Because when I first heard that, I was like, really? Rocket? Okay. I thought it was Peter's story, but okay.
I think they laid the breadcrumbs for Rocket being the lead between the first two Guardians and a handful of the Avengers films.
Well, in Endgame, he's the only Guardian left.
Yeah, so I wasn't too concerned about him being the main character, but I will say definitively, if Bradley Cooper never voices the character again and Rocket's done, I think this is leaps and bounds his best performance. And this is one of those Game 7, left it all on the line, nothing to hold back anymore. It was heavy. I was emotional from him listening to Creep. As on brand as that is, it set the tone right away. You know, this is a broken toy story. This is a Land of Misfits story. This is a Rocket-centered story. And this is a story how, even when he has a family, he never feels accepted. He always feels out of place and nobody wants him, and it's heavy. And then when he is in a coma, I was like, this is interesting. How am I going to continue to care about him while he's basically out of it? And that's one of the reasons I thought maybe Bradley just did a day in the studio and they're like, yeah, we're just going to put you on ice and it's everybody else's movie. But then as they go through the flashbacks and you see everything and then the Guardians start to see what he went through, it was heart-wrenching. Truly heart-wrenching. And hats off to the animators because his voice work is great and their voice work is great. But the inflection of his nose tickling and his eyes moving and his ears dropping, that is art of the highest degree. I can't even fathom how hard that was to do. But without those animators backing up what he and they are saying, it would fall completely flat. And they made it so lifelike. This goes to show, obviously actors are monumentally important in cinema, but animated animals aren't going anywhere because they stole the show. when he lets out the guttural no when the guy shoots Lila. Oh my god. Thinking about it now, I'm getting a little teary-eyed. Like, that was horrible. And then his actions got his other friends killed. Obviously, Lila was the heavy one, but it was a lot.
Yeah,
it was so bad. I had two couples to my right, two couples to my left, somebody in front of me, and all you heard was this. Like, for 20 minutes straight. And I was like, I can't let anybody see me that I'm here by myself. And now that I'm just like quiet crying to myself. But then by the end when he was in heaven, everyone's like, oh my god, are you okay? Is everybody okay? Are we good? It was accepted, like, just get it out, man.
It's the most emotionally effective superhero movie of like the last 20 years. I just don't think that there's anyone that's done it better.
I'm trying to think, maybe Logan was the last one that ever made me feel that way. When she turns the cross into an X, I throw up.
Yeah.
I vomit.
See,
everywhere.
But so for me with Logan, it's the third act that does it. The entire third act is emotionally just kind of it puts you into, like, the meat blenders when you're making, like, this is a chuck with a dry aged charcuterie board, whatever, and you're like putting everything together. That, I think that third act does that to me.
Yeah.
For me, it's the whole movie that does it here, or from halfway through the first act to, like,
it really is.
Yeah. So
yeah.
I can't remember since the Raimi Spider-Man movies, with, like, Aunt May, who is the greatest Aunt May of all time. I would kill an army for that Aunt May. I mean, whew. Not since then have I felt so much throughout an entire superhero movie, I should say. Think of that small distinction. Just wow. Yeah, Rocket. Who do you have a favorite Guardian now? Like, in not just in this movie, but overall, like, what Guardian of the Galaxy do you like the most?
That's a really hard question to answer. Cosmo's really cool. Good dog.
Cosmo's awesome. Awesome.
Good dog, Cosmo. I really don't know, though. I guess after this film, I would say I'm rooting most for Rocket, because I was kind of done with Peter. Between, like, Rocket and Drax, honestly.
Oh, I'm so glad you said that. Yeah, that's me. It's either Rocket or Drax. I love Drax.
I think the way Batista played him in this film, he's always been great, but he really, like, got him vulnerable. Like, I really just want to be a dad. I was like, God damn it. Now I gotta cry for you, too.
By the way, have you started to see the takes?
What?
People are starting to agree with us. Oh, Batista, best actor turned wrestler ever.
Oh, dude. Go watch Black Adam. That's it.
Don't do that.
But I said it before, The Rock is physically too big to do these things.
He is. He is.
He needs to be smaller. If he was 30 pounds smaller, take 1 month off, bro.
If you just look at early Rock acting career, he's, like, perfect sized, and he's actually pretty good in those movies. He's a little bit better back then than he is now. Anyways, it's starting, and I think Batista's about to take off in this.
He's good, man.
In this weird portion of his life where 30 years ago, after this movie, he's probably done as, like, a mainstream actor.
Yeah.
Or 40 years ago.
It helps that he's picking top tier directors.
Yes.
He's choosing smart movies.
But I don't know if that's available to him 30 years ago is what I'm saying. I don't know if it is.
Are you saying if we took him and made him like an actor in the 80s?
Yes.
Okay.
Especially because
if he would 40 years ago right now.
Yeah, I keep forgetting what year we're in.
Age. What a number.
It's crazy. I used to think all the time, like, all right, 20 years ago was the 80s. But it hasn't been that way in so long. So long. But yeah, so I just wanted to shout out Batista. Love him. And this movie really made me love Mantis, like, a lot. When she basically figures out the lesson of a lot of these movies, in which it doesn't matter what something looks like. Is this like a living, breathing thing that feels? That's what matters. With those things that I'm not going to remember, that they look like Alaskan bullworms. I forgot what
I have zero clue, so don't even ask me.
Yeah, when she connects with those things and even takes them with her, I was like, oh, she's great too. They're all the Guardians are just A tier characters at
She's
worst.
like the Ted Lasso of the Guardians, where I'm so jealous of your hopeful optimism. I really don't have that. But if I did, I would want to be like you, where everything is glass half full. And even if I got stabbed in the face, I'd be like, well, at least it was only half my face. Like, strive for that, don't have it.
Yeah.
Way to go, you.
Also, underrated moment in the movie when early on in the movie she talks about how it's not right to use her powers on her friends, but then she makes Drax forget that she hurt his feelings. Like that's the one time where she's allowed to. I thought that was underrated moment. What's your favorite scene? I have one. What's the best scene?
You go first.
It's Rocket dying and coming back. It's that sequence. It's the best sequence in the movie, in my opinion. When his heart stops, Peter is screaming. That's the best performance of Chris Pratt's career, by the way. That scene. I don't think it's arguable, my friend.
No, well, I really, as lame as this sounds, I like when the animals played tag. I thought that was very nice.
Oh, well, no, that's a great scene. That's a great scene. That's not silly to say. Do you know who you're talking to? Do you know who you're talking to? I love this stuff. I was like, I was in the theater going like this. I was like, tee. You know, I was just like,
I would agree with them. The best sequence of the entire film is that dying, afterlife, coming back, getting ready to go.
Even Zoe Saldana's performance in that scene is so good because at first she's like, this isn't right. And then she's thinking, oh no. Then she's telling Peter he's gone. She then starts to buckle and starts to cry and choke back. And then once he's brought back, she has to walk away because she's so emotionally involved in this now. All of it. It's so... Oh, and freaking Nebula, when she hears Rocket's voice.
Yeah, when she, like, chokes.
Oh, my... I'm getting goose pimples all up and down my arm. It's just... Oh, I love
call them bumps. Goosebumps is fine.
So... New girl.
I know, but...
anyways... You're my co-host. You're supposed to sell what I'm saying, not bury it. Goddamn.
Goose pimples, everybody. Goose pimples.
I think it's in the S tier of Marvel movie scenes, like all time. It's in that tier, in my opinion. It's right up there with Bring Me Thanos, but for different reasons. You know, it's just same thing with the He's My Friend. Tony, so was I. Like, it's in that same tier of amazing scenes. The scene of it's right up there in my opinion with Pepper saying to Tony, "It's okay, you can rest now," as he's dying.
Yeah, that was a heavy one.
It's in the same, dude. For me, when
I don't know when Spider-Man goes away,
when
he fades, I don't want to go.
It's in this. Oh my gosh, that one's crazy. That's a crazy sequence. I think they're all in the same tier, in the S tier. I'm not ranking them because that's too hard. Even I would have hard, and I'm a ranking kind of guy.
And I'm a piece of shit. I can't do that. That's mean.
Yeah, so that's just...
What's funny about all this whole film we've been talking about for over an hour now, we haven't even talked about like the action set pieces.
Because it doesn't matter. None of it matters.
And there's some, but they're not like a lot.
No, although there is one of the best action set pieces in all of Marvel in this movie. In that
the hallway?
The hallway fight.
I need to know how they like plan that out.
Me too.
And how it's like, okay, everyone here is basically CGI minus Chris Pratt. You're going to just duck around a lot, and we're going to film around you. That's hard acting.
It's really
to
impressive.
Just trust that they're going to do this. Like, from watching The Godfather to watching this, I'm like, how in the world did these guys?
No, for real. I mean, it's... You know, I'd seen someone the other day. There's a shot in the Transformers Rise of the Beast trailer, a movie which I am allowing myself a little bit of excitement for.
I gotta get Sam first row seats, man. Anthony Ramos is in that movie. I'm not even joking.
Oh, for real?
Oh, yeah. I got a shot of $50.
Oh, so then I'll have someone to go with.
Let's go.
I believe our boys... I believe all our boys are going to want to see that movie. So
yeah, we're going to go and be like, this sucked.
Don't do that to me. Don't do it. I'm rewatching Beast Wars right now, and
I can't do my Mantis thing, man. I got to see it first and be like,
okay, that's fair. There's a shot in that trailer that's like a one take scene during the big fight scene at the end of the movie. It's very
I
gray.
know what you're talking about. Yeah.
I hate that it's gray, by the way. There's too much grayness in blockbusters nowadays, and this movie doesn't have that, which is awesome. And I saw a discussion online about how, oh, it's so much CGI, it's not that impressive that it's one take. Pardon? That it's just as hard, if not harder, because you have to hit your marks with the camera with stuff that's not on screen yet. What are we talking about?
Would you go to clown school?
And even if that's it's all CGI, you still have to do a lot of work.
Yeah.
Like animation it's so disrespected. And I know that you and I are both very minor league artists. So we respect animation a lot. But like get a grip with this type of stuff where it's getting so disrespected. I thought that action scene was awesome. I mean, I love the final fight between the High Evolutionary and the Guardians. I like that it wasn't that big of a fight scene.
I love that it wasn't. That was my favorite thing in the whole movie. The last part, the last fight doesn't matter. It truly doesn't matter. They have already won. They got Rocket back. And now the main thing is, how do we get everybody else out? And yes, there's like heavy Noah's Ark themes there where they're freeing all the animals. That didn't bother me. I just noticed it and I was like, wow, this is like right in your face. But I thought that it was so cool to be like, let the evolutionaries people turn on him because they realize this god is a monster. We don't need the big beam. We don't need a 20-minute CGI punch fest. Like, and I think it's, for some reason, CGI looks better to me when it's like aliens fighting each other and ships. I feel like it's easier to make it look more realistic.
Because it's not stuff that's in our real world.
Does that make sense? Does what I'm saying make sense?
No,
I feel like the
I'm
ships
agreeing.
always look better. I think one of those beautiful CGI shots I've ever seen was in the Star Wars movie, the last one I fucking hated. With the Death Star with like the thunder behind it. I thought it was gorgeous. Terrible movie. Great shot. But yeah, I absolutely loved that the last fight was not like a fist match between the High Evolutionary and Rocket. Like, he got his recovery. He wants to now go help these animals. His win is to help people not go through what he did.
Yes.
And it was cool that they just did that. And they sold on it, you know?
100%. All right. I think we've reached a point by the way, we're going long today. We're going long because we still got more to go. You cool? You need a coffee break, cigarette break? We're going to now give our Mount Rushmore of comic book movie directors. Would you like to go first, or would you like me to go first?
Fuck no, you go first.
Okay.
And then I have a question after you go.
You got it. Okay, so I have a big three, and then the fourth slot is up for debate between two people, but I can put one in for sure. My big three: Sam Raimi, Chris Nolan, James Gunn. My fourth slot is split between two guys who you might not have on your list. One you might, actually. We have Richard Donner and Guillermo del Toro. Guillermo del Toro, for those of you who maybe don't know or haven't watched these movies, made the first two Hellboy movies, which I think are really important movies for the comic book genre because they kind of gave these lesser known characters, that and like the Crow, the original Crow, gave these lesser known characters an avenue to be shown. And I think that's really important. And those movies are incredibly well directed and incredibly well crafted. A lot of practical stuff in there. I think those are gorgeous movies. And I respect Guillermo del Toro so much as an artist. He is a true artist, a true modern artist. I'm gonna give it to Richard Donner. And honorable mention, who didn't make the top 5 for me, to Tim Burton for his work on the Batman movies. I'm going to go with Richard Donner because of what he did in the 70s. For the time that he did it or 80s? No, 79, right? Was Superman 1. What he did back then as a director and for the superhero genre it's unspeakable how important his work is. So I'm going to put him in my fourth slot.
Now, this is our personal favorites, correct? This is not like the best ever?
Not the best, because that's too hard.
Right. So then what I had to do is Nolan, I had to go no matter what. He made my favorite superhero film of all time. Saw it on my birthday in IMAX. Will never forget it. Nothing will ever top it. I then had to really think about it, and I had to go James Gunn, because he really has not made a movie, Marvel or not Marvel, comics or not comics, that I didn't like. I have honestly liked everything I've seen of his, and I cannot wait to talk about DC with you. Afterwards, I started to struggle.
Okay.
Now, I gotta go Raimi, because he made the first superhero movie I was ever excited to see. And then he made the best sequel that possibly has ever existed. Doctor Strange, still need to rewatch, but I just remember seeing how Raimified it was, and it was amazing. And I'm just excited for his extra stuff, especially outside of like Evil Dead and stuff. Amazing. And then my last spot, I'm going to go Reeves, Matt Reeves. He's one of my favorite directors of all time. I thought the way he made the Batman was jaw-dropping astonishing. I cannot wait to see what he does with the sequel. And I think he's one of... It was really between him and James Mangold. I do love the Russos, but one thing that dampers me is that post-Endgame, everything they made has, like, sucked. And that's, like, a nice way to say it. Like, it has really sucked. So, while I love the films they brought me, Reeves has never done me wrong. And James Mangold makes some of the best dad movies ever. Like, you and your dad would just go watch this perfect whatever, like, great 2 hours, 10 minutes, like, oh, let's go get a Coke and a hot dog, even though I don't drink or eat that. But you know what I'm getting at. His take on Logan was amazing. I know he made Wolverine too, but Logan was just otherworldly. But Reeves has to take the final spot, because what he did with his iteration of the Batman is something I cannot wait to see how he continues.
So real quick, just because we're pressed for time, I'll explain mine very quickly. Sam Raimi made my favorite movie of all time in Spider-Man 2, made a perfect origin story in Spider-Man 1, and I think he made an overhated movie in Spider-Man 3. If you remove Venom from that movie, it's actually really good. Chris Nolan maybe made the best superhero movie of all time, like objectively speaking, in The Dark Knight. Batman Begins, great origin. And he brought, for better or for worse, he brought forth the age of grounded superheroes. And, whatever you think about that, he had significant influence in this space, in this world. I explained Richard Donner already. And who didn't I explain? Oh, James Gunn made he took like C or D list characters and turned them into household names. Like that matters.
And he's done this multiple times over.
Yeah, it's just, and what he did, ending a trilogy is really hard, and we haven't really talked about that yet on this pod, and he did it. That's insane. Okay, I'll say this. He might have made the best ending to a superhero movie trilogy of all time. I don't think that's really a big hot take.
I would say the strongest trilogy as well. Because while I have a sentimental spot for James Mangold's Logan, the first Wolverine was dog shit. The second one was better, but the third one is almost its own thing. You know? Where the Guardians films, it's like amazing, pretty solid. Oh my god, get your tissues.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so those are our Mount Rushmores. Real quick, run through yours again, just the names.
Just the names I got on here: Nolan, Gunn, Raimi, and then Matt Reeves. With a quick honorable mention as well to Jon Favreau. I think we both could agree his take on Tony Stark, the original Iron Man, the first MCU film. Without what he did, we wouldn't have what we had today, for better or worse.
100%. I think his work on Iron Man 1 alone puts him, and Iron Man 2 with all that he had to deal with in that movie.
Yeah,
because apparently the behind the scenes stuff was not great.
Crazy.
And I'll run through mine as well real quick. By the way, just a mental note for future me: edit these guys' faces onto a Mount Rushmore picture. We have Sam Raimi, James Gunn, Christopher Nolan, Richard Donner, with honorable mentions to Del Toro and Burton. That was fun. And I hope we didn't piss off too many Zack Snyder fans. Sorry.
Fingers are crossed.
But whoever you have on your Mount Rushmore, let us know in the comment section down below, because this is definitely a YouTube breakout video. If you agree with ours, let us know as well. Anyways, Anyways, we're gonna end the podcast with the next segment. Did this movie make you more excited for the DCU?
For the DCU, fuck yeah. For Marvel, honestly, no. But for the DCU, fuck yeah.
Yeah, the moment that this movie ended, that the term that everyone's using now, which I learned recently, the needle drop, of the dog days are over.
You did not know that was a thing.
I had heard it years ago, forgot it existed, and then listened to so many podcasts recently over the past couple of years with movie reviews and stuff. I was like, oh yeah, that's a term. I forgot about that. Nice. I just don't want to. I feel like I sound like I listen to too many if I use these terms. That's why I try to use like my own actual vernacular. The needle drop of the dog days are over, and the just kind of the emotional feel of that scene also made me go, oh no, he is the one to direct Superman. He's gonna make the best Superman movie of all time, probably. Like, it's like, yeah, this is, yeah, he's got it.
As long as he continues to do what he does of telling a character story and then filling it in. He's the one who said the superhero films aren't overdone or bad. It's oversaturated. I forget the exact word he said, but
he said that superhero movie fatigue isn't a thing.
Yeah, it's that people are done. We want a story. Like, yeah. I feel like I thought about it today. Ant-Man could have been such a great trilogy if they just continued to look at the character of Scott, and they stop. Honestly, because they probably look at him as B. Seeley's character, filling in things that need to be done in his film. That's like dog shit. That's not good to him. That's not fair to the director. It's not fair to the producer, to the hundreds of people that work on the film. Let them make a good movie. And then you have your team of... It's just like comics. You can have 100 issues of whatever you want. And then out of nowhere, you just have a team up.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with everything you just said. But was part of you a little bit nervous about having a director helm a new cinematic universe with DC? I mean, it's been so weird with that franchise and that studio, and I don't care to speak on anything going on at the studio, any of the executive stuff right now. We're just two guys who talk about the movies that we watch, and we love the DC characters specifically because of the animated stuff that we've seen and some of the live action stuff over the years. But for me, I almost felt like at peace now with the knowledge that he's helming that universe after watching this movie.
Yeah.
Like, I felt...
Him over anyone else.
Yeah. If it's going to be...
Particularly dealing with groups, lower tier characters, and storytelling. Yeah. If you could tell the story with D-list no ones that you made A+ heroes, imagine what you're going to do with Superman.
Yes. And seeing...
And he's going to care. He's going to care.
Yeah. And I mean... I'll ask you about this because we haven't really talked about this, you and I. We're gonna finally get Batman being a dad in a movie, and I'll just be upfront. I personally prefer him being a dad to Dick Grayson. That's just my cup of tea. But how do you feel about seeing Batman in a father-son story?
I'm excited. I'm hopefully optimistic. I just hope that James learns from all of his, again, me with all my experience. A lot of sarcasm in here, people, if you couldn't tell. I just hope that James understands like how he felt when people took his characters and his work and then did what they wanted. Whoever he chooses to helm that movie, I hope he lets them do their best work at telling that father-son story with Batman, Robin overtones, and then going from there. I just hope that he's not like too director power hungry in the sense of like, this is my universe, this is my idea, this is what I want. If he lets everybody like James Gunn it, I think it's going to blow Marvel out of the fucking water, honestly. I think Marvel's on its last legs at this point. And I'm saying that as like a Marvel stan because they're doing a lot of... When I left the theater, everyone was talking about the next project and the next this, like, Secret Wars. And like, no, that's why they put this, they're doing that. I don't know. These dudes were like intense.
But how do you not just talk about what you just watched?
Because this is like these people... It's like a Marvel-fication of watching these films. They can't just accept... I have a strong feeling those people weren't even like emotionally invested in what's going on. They were just like, okay, like what's the next thing? But I'm hoping that as they do their DC stuff, you start with Superman as just a Superman story. And then you tell 8 to 10 different other Blue Beetle story, right? Just tell the story. And then eventually one day you could just have them meet for no reason. and then you tell the next thing.
It's what Phase 1 was.
Yeah, it's... And not everything in Phase 1 was perfect, but just let the director do their thing. Let Raimi Raimify it. Like, I feel like Peyton Reed could have put more touches on the Ant-Man film, but he's hamstrung by full CGI universe. You have to have Kang. You have to do this. You have to do that. As much as I love the connectivity, at some point, just let them tell the story.
100% agree. Real quick, can I tell you who I would like to see as Batman in that universe?
Sure, because I don't even know right now.
I would love it if it was Bradley Cooper. Man,
really?
I would love it. Yeah.
I feel like John Hamm has a strong Batman jaw.
He does. I just...
Maybe he's too old, though.
There's something about Bradley Cooper, especially when he is allowed to play subtlety really well. I just think that he would do a really good job. And he would do something really different from what Pattinson is doing. I even think that he would make for the most charming Batman we've had in a while.
Like out of the cowl, 100%.
Yeah.
And honestly, your solid prediction could come true if James is like, hey, we made some magic with Rocket. I know you want to be in our tour.
That's the thing.
Come on over.
You
can make Batman and Robin Casablanca. Who knows?
Hey, man, I wouldn't be mad at that. Yeah, I just... I'm so excited for that universe. I've heard some people talk about a bit of fear with him adding... I'm going to use a term that Joanna Robinson, who I think is just one of the best CBM podcasters that we have right now. I'm going to use a term that she coined, his flavor, the James Gunn flavor in the DC universe, and maybe how it might not fit with characters like Superman and stuff. I don't agree. I think this movie actually proved that he can do more, and that he has more. I think artists have more range than we give them credit for sometimes, just because we've seen one style from them. I do think that people do have more capacity for it. And I'm sure that, shout out to Joanne, I'm sure that she understands that very well. I'm just saying, I think that might be a very widespread thought process for people's opinions on the DC universe going forward, even though we haven't really seen anything yet.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I think Guardians is a true testament to him. I would have to go back and really rewatch all three films, but I think by the third, he still had his humor, but he really let the emotional gravity and emotional stakes come to the forefront. You know what I'm saying? Like, in the first one, he was real, like, toilet humor, whatever, you have some emotion. And the second one, he tries to get a little more emotion. But by the third, I think it's like a real strong, complete story with multi-layered characters, learning various different lessons, and you still laugh and you enjoy, but you are feeling things throughout it. And I think he's going to challenge himself. I think this is like a big-ass job he's taken on, and he is not going to look like a fool. He looked like a fool in the trades already with what happened years ago on his Twitter and stuff. I think if anyone's going to do it and start this universe and start it right and tell a strong story about just a dude who wants to just be a dude, I think he's going to do a really good job. Now, we could be wrong, and it could suck shit. But if it does, then the world doesn't need to exist anymore. If he can't tell that story, then like, it's done. But I think he's going to do... it could be a lot worse. That's all I'm saying. We could have a lot worse people in charge.
I agree. And I think... I don't know, there's a real earnestness to this movie, I think. And I think that he can bring that. And there is...
He chose Superman as the first one purposely, correct?
He's in charge of it. He's the one who
I know he's in charge of it now, but before he did that fake out, like, who's going to direct? Okay, it's me. He chose Superman as a character, right?
I believe so.
So my thinking is, I believe he chose the Guardians, and he did it for a purpose. And because he chose them, he made the best damn movies he could, and it ends great. I think by choosing Superman and not being given him, he is putting that, I want to make this character right. I have this vision. It's going to be done to the nth degree.
And he's writing it too.
There's that layer of it, man. Like, when you choose something, you're that much prouder.
Yeah.
You want to work that much harder, so.
Would you be okay with Raimi doing a Batman movie? Because he said he wants to.
That'd be crazy.
I know, man. Imagine him doing Clayface. Ooh, that would be crazy.
Especially in his work in horror, I would not be scared. It would probably be the scariest Batman movie yet.
Yeah. I mean, he could do so, but I would love for him to do a Green Lantern project with how imaginative he can get. Especially
what
seeing
those rings could make.
Yeah, I know. Don't say it like that.
Dildos everywhere.
Crazy.
What?
Oh my god. Yeah, I just, and I'm not gonna really speak on like who I want to be kept from the current iteration of the DC universe, because I just don't know what's gonna be done. We still have the rest of this year of the old regime's DC movies. This is all stuff that was done before he got there, so I can't judge anything until, when is that first one? 2025 is Superman Legacy, I think.
I might be filming earlier, but it's probably going to be 2025 at the earliest.
So
that it'll come out.
Yeah, I think you're right though about something, and I think it sucks and it's hard to accept, and we could be wrong. They could make a massive comeback again. They have X-Men to come, and they have the Fantastic Four, and more Spider-Man movies to come. So those three could carry these movies, and I'm still very excited for the Marvels. I think that movie looks pretty fun. The age of superhero movies might not be over, but the age of Marvel being the biggest thing in pop culture might be done.
I'd say dwindling.
Might be dwindling, okay. But I don't think we're in a bad spot if DC takes that spot. I think it could happen.
And you know, be the perfect outcome. DC takes it, they crush, they make movies everyone loves. It gives time for Marvel to just kind of be in the woodwork, whatever, do whatever. And then you come back with another hit. These aren't going anywhere.
No, they still make too much money.
Anywhere. So I really just see DC, I think we talked about this before in a previous pod, just adding more competition to the soup there. And we're all just going to get better by playing off of each other. In an ideal world, that's all I want.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And I hope these movies keep making money, and I hope that we just tell different stories. And I know you and I just want to see a good Justice League movie. We love this genre a lot. We love these characters a lot, and the DC stuff hasn't been done. It hasn't been given its due. I mean, legitimately, half the movies from 2013 to now with the DC films have been subpar.
Yeah.
And I think that we could be in a space where maybe, I mean, do you remember the feeling we used to get from Marvel movies going in and coming out of them? Do you remember that feeling?
I yearn for it.
But I will say, I did kind of feel that coming out of this movie. I did, especially coming out of it. I was like, oh, this is that, like, seeing a good superhero movie done.
As we wrap up, I have to be completely honest. I was elated with the film, but I am not excited for the future. And it sucks to say, because in my head, I just keep thinking, this was a James Gunn masterpiece. He had his say on it. I'm curious to see if other directors will get to do this. If I get a follow-up with freedom of expression and focus on character, then I'm back in. But I've been wrong so much these last few months and years by the previous iterations. I am definitely excited for all things Marvel coming out, but I am not as, like, can't wait on the edge of my seat, let's talk about it now, because I just want to, like, see it first. You know, I want it to wash over me.
Very well said. KG, the lovely listeners heard some music at the beginning of this podcast. Where can the people find said music?
At Above the Moon Music, Instagram, socials, where have you, Spotify. We got our LP coming out sooner than later, so keep back checking for that.
Very excited. I'm excited. I'm as excited for that as I was for the new Jonas Brothers project that dropped last week that I still have not listened to. Yes, that's right, folks. I think the Jonas
So what you're saying is you're
good.
So jacked up for my music, you're going to let it drop and then never listen to it.
That's not true. That's not true. It's been 3 days. That's all. We've been very busy. So
it's on
that's
audio recording.
Don't forget, if you've listened to the podcast to this point, thank you so much. If you could do us a favor, leave either this video a thumbs up if you are watching this on YouTube, or leave the podcast a great review, either 5 stars or a thumbs up wherever you're listening to it. And leave a comment wherever you can, whether it be in the reviews or in the comment section down below if you're watching this on YouTube. We really appreciate it. It helps us perform a little bit better. And it's just really, really helpful. I might even start, I've seen a lot of YouTubers do that, like in the midway point. I might start to do that, but we'll see. We had our first breakout video with the last pod. We're gonna do another one in this pod, maybe two. I'm gonna be honest. A lot of them are gonna be with this pod are of you. We're gonna do some live on air schmoozing. You bodied this pod. You did so good. That was crazy.
Is this going to be kept in the end?
Okay, if you're okay with the I'll keep it.
It's news to me. Thanks, I appreciate it.
You bodied this one. This is your best performance ever, in my opinion. I thought you did great.
Wow.
You rocketed this one a little bit. I was kind of your Peter here. I was like, oh, go off, King. Keep it going. Yeah. Get those takes off. I thought it was awesome. I feel good as good about this pod as I did coming out of Guardians 3. Again. Wow. Thank you all very much for watching and or listening. Once again, I have been Buff Charmander, joined by my good pal KG.
Until next time.
Stay safe and stay sweaty, my friends.